Hello there, my fellow notebook aficionados, and welcome back to the channel.
Feel the hatred of 10,000 years.
How Gen Z became the poorest generation. What's it? Is it because they're stupid? It's because they're stupid. They got little brains.
Almost everywhere online, you'll notice videos, articles, and news clips talking about Gen Z becoming poorer. And we've even done so on this channel before too. But oftentimes, you'll see people say it's because Gen Z are lazy, entitled, and not having enough children or families.
I feel like they said the same thing about millennials whenever we were the same age as Gen Z. Am I crazy? Because that's what I remember.
Population collapse looming over the horizon as many warn about what's to come when there just aren't enough children to sustain the coming future. Is this
well, we won't need children, we'll have robots.
Just because Generation Z supposedly wastes all their money on morning Starbucks and owning an iPhone? Well, it doesn't take long to realize that this is far from the truth, and is merely a band-aid type reasoning over the massive gaping wound causing Generation Z to become so much poorer than other generations. So are Generation Z, an entire generation of people around the West, just really that lazy if they physically can't work more than 12 hours a day to sustain a life? How is it that in the past you could really just get a job through an ad in the local paper on only a high school diploma, and by living off a regular normal salary, you could have a big house, a stay-at-home wife, with 3 children, all sustained by just one salary at your normal job?
That's crazy. Like that's the thing that I feel like most people are mad about, is the fact that they can look at these old movies and these old shows, and it can be like some dumb fuck husband who, like, what does he do? Like, he goes to work and he works on an assembly line, and he has a house, 2 cars, and a boat. What the hell?
It's this giant disparity in such a short time span where people can barely survive today, where the living conditions have become so much worse. Why does it appear that to live a normal life now is just so out of reach for most in Generation Z? And what effect will this have on the future? Well, to better understand this whole situation, you need to go back in time to compare the life of a regular person to someone today.
1950.
In the past, for other generations, higher education was a sure way of moving upwards in the social structure. However, today, this is just becoming more and more of a financial black hole.
How many of you guys know somebody who is basically, like, they have a bunch of student aid debt, and like they can't get out from under it? Because I know a lot of people that are like that. Especially, like, I mean, now not as many, right? Because like a lot of my friends have gotten jobs and shit like that, and they've been able to pay it off. But for a long time, that was the case.
Which has doubled the amount that students will have to pay in the last 20 years, has completely exploded. If we count that with inflation, the tuition for public colleges in the US has jumped by more than 230% compared to the 1980s. Baby boomers would pay about $10,000 converted with inflation to 2018, but Generation Z now at the very minimum is paying $25,910.
Oh my god. And that's only in 2020. Look at that to 2021. So it's probably even more than that now.
Well into the 6 figures, as this number also excludes rentals, administration fees, stationery, and food, which is why there's such crippling debt all over America for students right now. And even if you do get the best grades and scholarships possible, many Generation Z students are still required to take on these huge predatory loans. Loans that stay with you even if you go bankrupt. And
I think the big problem with student loans is the fact that I think that it's grooming. Because like students are brought up and people are brought up to think that you need to go to college, and you're in an institution that for 12 years institutionalizes you into believing that you need to go to college. And so it's like you're basically trying to brainwash somebody for 12 years to take on indentured servitude for life. And some people are able to like overcome it, some aren't. But the reason why I think that they're unethical is the fact that you're doing it to a person who is underage and can't really consent to a contract and doesn't really understand these different types of like amount of money. Right, happened to me. Yeah, exactly, right? And so you're going to tell us a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, and it's like the moment they turn 18, it's like, okay, well, now you're completely free to make every decision, which is like, yeah, it's true, but it's still unethical to do, I would say.
Even when they make it outside of university, they now have a huge burden of loans hanging over them, restricting all of their financial decisions. And all of this for really what? Unless your degree is specifically needed for your line of work.
By the way, this is the reason why why people think TikTok is making young people hate America. It's not because of China, it's because of this. They're blaming China because they don't want to look at this.
A degree doesn't seem like a direct pathway to a good job anymore. It doesn't even guarantee entry-level jobs that can barely cover daily expenses, and universities are just becoming less and less of an option without enrolling in highly competitive career-focused courses.
Yeah, like a good example is like, didn't Extra Emily say she had she had like a college loans of like $170,000? That's a lot of money. Like $170,000. Wow, big money.
Entered the workplace, it was a culture shock to be expected to do jobs that didn't suit their idea of what working would be. As now most companies,
it's like imagine if she didn't become a streamer, right? Like think about how long that would just like fuck your life up.
Need work experience, and if you're fresh out of college, this is almost impossible. I mean, despite abundant claims of job openings, finding work has become harder than ever.
Yeah.
The news will always tell you that companies today are struggling to fill positions, and yet countless people in Generation Z specifically can never seem to find a job, even if they send out dozens or even hundreds of applications without this.
Here's a very simple reason for that, I think. It's because the jobs that they are looking for are the jobs with the lowest amount of skill or critical thinking required. Because they're younger and so they don't have as much innate skill to create something that a automated system or an AI can't reproduce themselves. And this isn't really an insult on like this group of people. I think that think about it in a video game, right? It's like if you're level 25, you're not going to be able to do as much DPS as a level 20 or a level 50, right? It's very simple. So it's much easier to replace a level 25 with a robot or, you know, something else than, let's say, you know, a higher level player. AI is changing things. Yeah, exactly. So like you don't have the experience, you don't have the, you know, any tenure, you don't understand the industry well, and so they're not going to hire you. And so it's basically like they're pulling the ladder up more and more, and so it's harder to even get in.
Impatient.
Single interview. Decades
That's
ago,
what I think's
this was
happening.
never the case. Even during job shortages, getting hired was much simpler. Advice like dressing well and filling out your CV was often just enough. Even just asking for a manager's time often worked. Persistence led to success. But today, this approach is much harder. One major shift is the rising bar for entry. Before 2000, a college degree almost guaranteed you a good job. For other generations in the past, this was just a given. It was why you went to university.
This is one of the reasons, too, by the way, why that Sam Hyde video was so popular. It's because of this problem and the way that people have observed it manifesting in individual lives of people that they know. So like they know somebody who this has affected in a negative way, or they've been affected by this in a negative way.
But for the first time ever, this isn't the case for Generation Z. Instead of companies competing for graduates, now a degree is the bare minimum for them. Employers now focus on the top few % of candidates, while most roles require years of experience even for entry-level jobs. The internet has also transformed hiring. In the past, companies recruited through local events, word of mouth, or physical job postings, limiting competition and making hiring even more personal. Today, a single online job listing can attract thousands of applicants instantly. With no need to apply in person, people send out applications en masse, creating a numbers-driven process that favors quantity over quality.
Of course.
This also mirrors trends in modern dating too for Generation Z, where technology has expanded competition, turning personal connections into data-driven interactions. Both industries now set higher standards due to the illusion of endless options, leading to dehumanizing experiences for individuals, and making it that much
It sucks to probably apply to a bunch of jobs and not get any of them. The same as like I bet on a dating app, it probably sucks if like you try to like match with 100 girls and like 100 of them say no. Like yeah, I bet that does like really, it's like demoralizing. Yeah, you give up. Exactly. It does fucking suck. Yeah, see, I never had a dating app before, so like I'm not sure, but you know, yeah, for sure. And I'm 32 with 2 kids. I went to college. I come for the lie of a better job and pay. In my instance, it was job placement figures that were a lie, let alone the lack of proper experience to be placed in a good job once I graduated. Yeah. And the thing is that there's always this like, I actually have a very, like, I'll talk about it at the end.
harder for Generation Z not only to create a family, but even have the money to support one. And then
Yeah.
in recent years, automation only made it that much harder. Application tracking systems, otherwise known as ATS, is used by nearly all major companies to filter candidates based on criteria like keywords, experience, or location. Originally designed for simpler tasks, these systems now reject applicants automatically for failing to match specific parameters. Many CVs are just discarded without ever being reviewed by a human.
Yeah, it's like don't like dating apps have like a thing where like you can filter by like height? I mean, like, they guaranteed to, right? So it's like if you're not at least like 6'1", you're not. Yeah, right. Weight. Do they have weight? Can you filter by weight? No, why not? Why? Body type, but yes.
Demons?
Height is okay though. I love that. I love that the thing that you can't control is okay, but the thing that you can control is. Or so, the thing that you can't control is, yeah, but the thing that you can't control is not okay. It's so. See, this is the problem that I have with society. This is why I always get into trouble.
Time grows short.
How does that make any sense? It doesn't. It's ridiculous. To ask backwards, people are super retarded. Yes, they are. It doesn't.
Standout, applicants must tailor their CVs to each job posting, mimicking keywords and avoiding formatting issues that could confuse the software. This tedious process leaves many feeling demoralized, especially when rejection emails just become normal, and yet at the same time you see on social media all of these rich millionaires living it up in places like Dubai.
I mean, if you see a girl living it up in Dubai, anyway. So, I do think that the pervasiveness of influencer culture has absolutely caused way more resentment. Because, like, now somebody can go, like, they can go and they can see some girl on Instagram or on Twitch, right? They can see somebody and they're like, wow, this person has everything that I want, and they just sit there and talk to a camera all day. And, like, that, like, just face value unfairness makes people so angry.
The widespread use of ATS, the hiring process remains overwhelmed. AI is making the systems that much more sophisticated, allowing companies to further automate hiring while removing human judgment. This efficiency-driven approach reduces applicants to mere data points, stripping away opportunities for personal connections. The result is a hiring landscape that feels impersonal and unfair. While job hunting has always been challenging, the rise of automation heightened competition, and unrealistic standards have made it far more dehumanizing. Before, you were given an opportunity to have an interview face-to-face to at least give the employer a good impression. This is now only merited if you're selected for an interview at all.
I remember I went to an interview and I couldn't figure out how to open the door to leave the interview room. And I drove home and I was thinking about how embarrassing that was. And then I realized that that night was September came out. And I was thinking then, I was like, I'm not going to have to work during the expansion.
Data is the deciding factor amongst all, and any good explanations for any shortfalls in your CV fall through the cracks and are shifted to the rejected pile. There's even systems now that only pick up on certain words which might keep your application in the run, but again the competition is fierce. Even the format of your CV can count against you if their automated system is unable to read it. Then there's the problem with advertising jobs that are just no longer active.
I think that by the way, I don't know if that's completely an AI problem. Like growing up, I don't know about you guys, but did you guys ever get like advice on like resume building and like CV building that it's like, oh, you don't want to do it like this because now hiring managers won't look at CVs that are like, written in this way? So I feel like what they're really doing is they're automating something that was stupid to begin with, right? It's like it was already stupid and now it's being automated, and the automated way is also stupid. But I feel like it's always been like this to an extent. But like now, since it's like a robot doing it, it feels a lot worse rather than it just being a person doing it. It's all bullshit. Yeah. It's like, it's basically, it's really efficient at being stupid, so it's stupid more often, so people are more mad.
company policy, while they already have an applicant in mind, they still have to advertise. Or perhaps they fill
Yeah,
the
the ghost
position but
job.
don't take the advert down. And if by chance you do get selected, you'll then be subjected to a questionnaire designed to gauge your submission to authority. As
Yep.
companies now want to hire people who will not challenge their expectations and restrictions.
That's right. You have to hire, you don't want to hire employees, you want to hire prospective slaves. That's what you want. I mean, that makes sense, right? I mean, do you want somebody who's going to question authority? No.